This podcast is presented by My Place Hotels. My Place Hotels is proud to be the official sponsor of Frontstretch with plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels. My Place makes for the perfect pit stop while traveling. I mean, we are going to spend the entire month of May in a My Place hotel. That's how amazing they are. Race fans, you can use the promo code Frontstretch to save 10% off your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Once again, 10% off nationwide with code Frontstretch. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place.
It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen. Yours truly here on the week of April the 9th, 2025. Going to be diving on into a plethora of topics. On this week's edition of the program, one of my favorite guests that we have ever had. We usually do I think it's twice a year. My producer can correct me in our private chat after I say this. We usually talk with him twice a year. The man, the myth, the legend from the Kyle Petty charity ride, the one and the only Kyle Petty. We're going to be talking about his charity ride, the 29th annual Victory Junction Gang ride. It's incredible what he does. We're going to get his take on where you can see him, as well as his surprises, his overall thoughts on the season in the world of NASCAR, and more. And then last but not least, my co-host, Mr. Anthony Damcott and company. He's going to be joining the program. We're going to be talking about Legacy Motor Club suing Rick Ware and so much more. But without further ado, let's dive on into my interview with Mr. Kyle Petty.
Now it's time for...
Crowd of over 160,000 is on their feet cheering for Kyle Petty in the middle of turn 3. Now he's in turn 4. If he can just get it home safely, he says. Kyle Petty now the short chute on the front straightaway. Kyle Petty is going to win the Coca-Cola 600. What a day for Kyle Petty and the Wood Brothers team.
And the Wood Brothers are jubilant there in Victory Lane.
To go into the Inferno with Bryan.
Right now, folks, at this time, going to bring to the program, it is the time for the 29th anniversary of the Kyle Petty charity ride. It is 225 motorcycles through 7 states starting on May the 3rd and May the 9th. And the guy that is setting it all up, the guy right in front of me, Mr. Kyle Petty, an analyst on NASCAR and NBC. What's going on, KP? How are you, my man?
Nothing much, man. So I'm going to correct one thing. I don't set up anything. I just ride, dude.
Fair. Okay.
My wife sets up everything.
Okay. Hey, happy wife, happy life, right?
That's exactly right.
Exactly. Before we dive into the charity ride, I want to dive into the world of NASCAR first. I want to talk about the season so far. Feels like 2 teams have stood out, JGR and Hendricks. Has there been any surprises for you so far? Any disappointments? What has stood out to you so far?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, God, man, it's hard to say. Yes, we've seen JGR, and listen, I'll go on record. If we go back, Christopher Bell, phenomenal 3 in a row. I'm not going to say he should have won all 3 of those races because he was just right place, right time. Denny Hamlin wins Darlington, right place, right time. Wasn't a factor in the race. Didn't seem to be until the end. So, yeah, they've won a couple of races. They've won 5 races that JGR has. But at the same time, we saw the Hendrick car. William Byron was the dominant car. We saw the 45 of Tyler Reddick. We saw the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Those guys were tough. So I look at the Fords, and the Fords just haven't been where I thought they were going to be. But they're there. They're just not over the line a little bit. Blaney's been good. Blaney's just had, junk luck. Logano's not been where I thought he should have been, but he's getting there little by little. So, yeah, I don't think there's been a surprise. I think Kyle Larson's been the biggest surprise, not to be in a little bit more dominant in some of these racetracks that we have run and not to put himself in a position to win. I think he's been a surprise. Blaney's troubles has been a surprise, but no. We're talking Gibbs and we're talking JGR or talking Hendrick. I mean, how can that be? That's the way the years go. So there's nothing big.
Now, you were on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast, and
Yeah.
the biggest thing that I think everybody took away was what you were talking about with the Xfinity drivers. And obviously, they all played nice at Darlington this past weekend, but I mean, I don't know how to say other than it was a shit show at Martinsville. It was, Justin Allgaier said it was embarrassing. What has to change for the Xfinity series to be like the Xfinity series we saw in the past few years, and try and convince me, KP, that we are not going to see what we saw a couple weeks ago at Martinsville at the second to last race in Martinsville before they head to Phoenix. Why is this going to be different?
It's not going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. I'm sorry. You know, we're just at a different place in the world. And listen, I just sound like an old guy bitching, to be totally honest about you. But hey, we truly are. And what I mean by that is, if you go back in time and you go back and you watch Mark Martin and let's go back to Richard Petty and David Pearson. Let's go back to Earnhardt. And everybody wants to say that Earnhardt wrecked everybody every week. And that's just total BS. Sorry. I'm not buying into that. Did he rough people up? Yes. But he could take getting roughed up too. And he didn't retaliate. I'm going to say that. He could take getting roughed up and didn't retaliate. What we see today, I mean, what we saw up there with Sammy Smith, I mean, he said, I thought he was going to do it. He flipped me off. Flipped you off? Dude, wear a coat. Get some skin. If he flipped you off and you went that haywire, that's crazy. And what I said, and I didn't say it on Harvick's thing, but I said it a little bit later, was, listen, this all starts at home. You know what I mean? Somewhere the parents had to discipline these kids, and it doesn't look like they did. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like they did. And then they played sports or whatever, and the coaches didn't. And then they get in the next racing series or whatever that is, and they got a spotter telling them, wreck him. They got a crew chief telling them, go get him. He did this to you. So it's total retaliation. And until respect is taught at a young age, and we teach these guys to respect their competitors, to respect the equipment, to respect the integrity of the game and respect how they play, then it's not going to change. And the group that's out there right now, not all of them, I'm going to be real clear here, not all of them, but some of those guys that are running up front, they've already broke training. You can't retrain them. I'm sorry, man. You just can't. So that's not going to change for a lot of those guys. And, you know, it's sad to watch because they're going to take that from whatever they do in Xfinity. They're just going to take it to the Cup Series. And listen, we in the media are just as guilty, okay? Because I'm going to say this. Anytime you advertise a race, all we see is crashes and people running over each other. All we see is fighting. All we see is this. And we're just as guilty, you know? And when you get out of the car and you say, I'd wreck my mama to win this race, listen, there's some 12-year-old that actually believes that. They don't understand that it's just some guy running his mouth. It's just hyperbole. They don't understand that. And they're just not at that place. There's more talent in the Xfinity series than there's probably ever been. I mean, when I look at those guys, when I look at Sammy Smith, when I look at Taylor Gray, when I look at Daniel Dye, you look at all those guys, man, there's so much freaking talent. But the maturity level is down. And it has to come up, and it has to meet the talent level at some point in time. And it's just not there right now.
I mean, I look at a guy like Connor Zilic. He's an absolute talent, but like he was out of control at Martinsville. And hopefully they just grow up with age. I mean, Zilic is what, 18 or something like that?
Yeah.
Hopefully they just grow up with age. But I mean, I'm just watching it, and it's just out of control. And it reminded me of the Truck Series. And now the Truck Series is getting back to normal because you got the veterans like a Daniel Hemrick coming in and everything. But it's so frustrating because the Xfinity Series week in and week out puts on fantastic racing.
Yeah, listen, and again, the racing is good and there's talent there. The problem is when you step over the line to racing. And if we go back to Martinsville, I didn't think Sammy was he was not as smooth with his bump and run to knock Taylor out of the way. But when Taylor came back, that was a classic bump and run, man. He eased him up. He got up under him. He took the position. He beat you. So when you drive 3 car lengths further into the corner to retaliate, that's absolute chicken crap. And you can and even if you look at chicken crap and that little white spot on top of chicken crap is still chicken crap. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any difference. That's what it is. And that's what he was that day, chicken, to run down in that corner and do that. And you can't lose your mind in a race car, and you can't use a car as a weapon and to retaliate. And that's just, it's uncalled for. But again, and I do not blame NASCAR. And let me say this again. I've said it for when all this happened. The weight and the brunt of their actions are put in NASCAR's lap. Whatever the way they drive and the way they do things, it ends up, and everybody points to NASCAR and said, "This is your problem." It's not their problem. It becomes their problem because of the way these guys act, and then they need to react and act on it. And just by fining somebody 50 points, that's not it. That's not anything. Until they send a message, until the sanctioning body sends a message and says, sit at home, get your head out of your butt, watch us on TV, and see how it's supposed to be done. And then you can come back in 4 or 5 weeks. That's when it's going to deliver a message. You'll think twice about running into the corner 4 car lengths deep or to wreck somebody if you think the next 4 or 5 weeks you're going to be sitting at home watching it on TV. It'll make you think about it. But right now, for 50 points, nobody's going to think about it.
One thing that is not chicken crap, KP, is the Kyle Petty charity ride. That's how you transition from one thing to another, my friend. May 3rd through May 9th, 2025. Let's dive into this. You're starting in Michigan, you're ending in Virginia. Why those 2 states? And last year, you came on this program, you said you would give significant consideration to my hometown, my current residence of Boise, Idaho. KP, there's nothing in the West Coast for that you guys are going. What the world? Why are you
back her down?
Okay.
So here's the deal. So we did not go to Boise. Why? Because the year before, as we were talking about last year, where did we ride last year? Salt Lake. We went around there. So we'd already been in that area.
Okay.
So we couldn't come back. We weren't coming back the year after. Okay. Now, the 30th, we're going across country again.
Oh.
So just want to put that out there.
Okay.
So this is another regional. So here's what we did. We ended up, we sent out a flyer. We sent out our questionnaire. We'd been to Traverse City once before. Great place. And we looked at it and we thought, man, let's go back to Traverse City. Everybody kept wants to go to Niagara Falls. I mean, that was one of every year you send this thing out. People are like, let's go to Niagara Falls. So we said, okay, Traverse City, Niagara Falls. How do we get from Traverse City to Niagara Falls? Boom. We'll go see the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. Boom. We'll go see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Then we'll go up to Niagara Falls. But once we got to Niagara Falls, we couldn't figure out how to get home. So that's how we kind of ended up over in Watkins Glen and going to Corning. We're like, okay, let's go to another racetrack. So we'll go to Watkins Glen, make a lap over there. Then we're coming down through Bedford, Pennsylvania, and the Omni there, and then going down to Virginia. And we didn't get all the way back to North Carolina because we just ran out of days, and that's how simple it is. And this is our 29th ride. So we're really, really focused in on making a great ride this year for everybody and seeing things that we've never seen before, like the Henry Ford, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like Niagara Falls and the Corning Museum of Glass and things like that. But next year is going to be that another big ride. Remember, on the 25th, we went from Seattle to Key Largo. So we went like 3,800 miles. So next year will be a big ride. And Boise may be on that list. You never know. I don't want to tip my hat yet, but it could be on that list.
Fair enough. Key Largo, I spent my honeymoon there. Fantastic place. Really nice. Yes, yeah. It is. It's awesome.
Key Largo is a long way from Boise, dude.
Yeah. I think we went from Boise to Denver to Miami. And that was, it was a long flight. But a couple more things here before we let you go. Kyle Petty, analyst on NBC, also the Kyle Petty charity ride for raising funds and awareness for Victory Junction. KP, you've done this a long time. Is there a story or stories that you will always remember from, whether it was from a rider or from someone that you met, that comes to mind when you first started, whether it was a sick child or someone that came up to you and said that inspired you because you've been doing these rides? What is there a story or two that you could share with us?
So you know what? That's a great question, and there's been so many, man. I mean, we've had people come out and ride with us that just had great stories. We've had campers who have met us along the way now, and kids that we've met who have come to camp eventually and met their families, along the road and on the highway, and just thought, man, this is so cool, man. We met you out in Iowa, and here you are at Victory Junction, and they didn't know anything about Victory Junction until the ride came through, and that's part of it. So there's tons of stories like that. I tell people in the early years, it was so crazy, man. We were just riding. We didn't know what we were doing. And this is my favorite story of all the years in the charity ride. This is my favorite story. Terry Labonte went with us one year, and we were riding out across New Mexico, and we had ridden for about 70 or 80 miles, and on a stretch of highway where there's nothing, just 2-lane highway, and it came to a T. And when we got to the T, you had to turn left or right, and we were going right. And we turned. When we got there was a pickup, and there was a man and his wife and 2 kids, probably about 8 or 9 years old, and they were standing in the back of this pickup, and they had a big sign that said, "We love you, Terry Labonte," and they had on their Terry Labonte hats and their Terry Labonte shirts. And I was at the front of the line, and I knew Terry was back in line. So as soon as I got there, I pulled off, and I kept waiting for Terry to come, waiting for him, and I motioned for him, and he pulled over. And we stayed on the side of the road and talked to this family for probably 15, 20 minutes. And the fascinating part is they had driven 4.5 hours to get to that T in the middle of the road, because that's as close as we were coming to them, 4.5 hours away. But they love Terry Labonte so much, they come just to hold up a sign in hopes that he would wave at them when he went by and take a picture. They had no clue that he would stop and talk to them and spend that much time. And that to me is part of what the ride is. It's spreading the gospel of NASCAR at the same time. And those Terry Labonte fans that day epitomized what some of the stuff or the ride was all about.
And I think that says something about NASCAR fans in general. Like, sure, with like NBA teams and NFL, you have a select number of home games. For NASCAR fans, if they live in a certain city, maybe they have 2 and that's it, and then they can travel. I mean, these fans are just so dedicated. They can travel 4 or 5 hours to go to a different racetrack, and they love it because they love the sport and they're just so ingrained with sport. That's why people love NASCAR. It's really, really cool and fun to see.
It is, man. When you walk through the parking lot at a NASCAR race and you see license plates from 10 or 12 different states, man, it's like, man, it messes your head up because there are no home games. There are no local games. And these people, they travel all over the country to go to Vegas, to go to Bristol, to go to Martinsville, to go to Wilkesboro, to the All-Star race. It's really fascinating. And it's always been that way. And it's probably more so now, but it still fascinates me that people will come and buy a ticket and sit in the grandstand and watch cars go around.
Last but not least, back to the charity ride. Where can people meet you, and then who will be on the ride with you? Obviously, you mentioned Terry Labonte before. Rick Allen, I know, has been on it before. Kenny Wallace. Who will be on it with you this year, if you know?
Yeah. So far, my dad will be with us again. So here's the deal. My dad's 87. He's going. Herschel McGriff's 96, so he's going. So so we've taken care of the Centurions here on that side of it. Rick Allen's with us, Kenny Wallace, Kenny Schrader, Max Pappas, Herschel Walker. God, man, I'm missing some. I know I'm missing some. Anyhow, yeah, and they'll be those guys are going with us, and it's listen, they are huge supporters. Kenny, when you get Kenny Wallace and Kenny Schrader together,
oh boy,
it's a traveling circus.
Once again, the Kyle Petty charity ride. According to the press release, you're calling it the Tour of Wonders, a nod to the natural wonders that will be seen during the trip. Last but not least, KP, looking ahead to the rest of the NASCAR season, what are you going to be keeping your eye out on and the remaining races leading to the playoffs?
That's a good question. I think we've seen, I think as we look at the year this year, I think Ryan Preece has started out hot, man, really strong. I think there's a team, RFK, who's been strong and always been strong with Buescher. And I think Brad Keselowski has done a tremendous job of reorganizing that place and making it into something it's gonna do some great things. I'm waiting for the Fords to really break out. That's something that I'm watching in this middle part of the year in the grind when we get into it. They've been pretty good everywhere except for Coda. They were not good at Coda at all. None of the Fords were really good, but they just hadn't broken through. Ryan's had terrible luck, and honestly, Joey has too. I mean, he's put himself in contention not to have much happen, but you know, and I know Larson's won a race, but where's he been the rest of the time? You know, I keep looking for him because honestly, William Byron has kind of carried the banner over there this year so far at Hendrick. So they've got to put somebody else in the game. Chase is slowly digging his way back, but he's not in the game yet. Now that I say that, he'll go to Bristol and win. But, you know, I think we're going to get to – we saw the Toyotas start hot last year, and then they went forever and didn't win anything else. Didn't win anything the second half of the year. So is it going to be a repeat from last year for the Toyotas? I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see because they've been so dominant the first part of this year. But, you know, there's so much with Bubba and with Reddick and those guys. I mean, there's so many guys that can come to the racetrack and win on a weekly basis. Nothing surprises me anymore.
Once again, at Kyle Petty on Twitter and X. And then for more information, check out the Kyle Petty Charity Ride at KP Charity Ride and then KylePettyCharityRide.com. Once again, the 29th anniversary of the Kyle Petty Charity Ride across America, starting May the 3rd and ending May the 9th. KP, it's always a pleasure. It's one of my favorite interviews I do all year, talking about your charity ride. Thank you so much, and I'm going to be keeping my eye out for Boise, Idaho, because
all right, man. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to potentially seeing you in my hometown. But KP, it's always a pleasure. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Once again, Kyle Petty, analyst on NBC for NASCAR, also part of the Kyle Petty Charity Ride, raising awareness for the Victory Junction Gang Camp. Once again, Bringing the Heat is presented by My Place Hotels. My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel sponsor of Frontstretch. Plush beds, in-room kitchen, and pet-friendly hotels. My Place makes for the perfect pit stop while traveling. Frontstretch is using My Place Hotels the entire month of May as we cover the Indianapolis 500. Once again, race fans, you can use a promo code Frontstretch to save 10% off your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Once again, 10% off nationwide with code Frontstretch. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place. Let's dive on into what is still hot.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
I'm going to dive into the program with my co-host. He's currently in the pitch black, but that's okay. I can still see his face. My man, Mr. at Anthony Damcott. He is our Truck Series reporter. He's also a great reporter in general. Anthony Damcott, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be back on the program for the first time this year. We're talking about what's still hot. Nolan, you're still hot, my friend.
Oh, stop it. Stop. You're going to make me blush, brother. What is not still hot, though, is what we used to collect as a little kid. And if you wanted me to put truth serum, I would say that we probably still collect them, but we're just using them as collectibles. Lionel, they're increasing prices over their new diecast, according to Adam Stern of the Sports Business Journal. They have been beginning to inform their retail customers and wholesale clients that it was implementing a tariff surcharge on all of its diecast sales, according to our boss, Tom Bowles, who wrote about this on Frontstretch.com. He was seeing a little 1.64 diecast car at Target for Austin Dillon that was going for $14.99. Anthony, I remember when they were $4.99. Now they're $14.99. This makes me sad.
Yeah, I agree. I think I started collecting diecast a little after. I think when they were about $7.99, but even still,
Gotcha.
You know, seems like a dream nowadays. I mean, I remember. I can't remember if it was like 2 or 3 years ago when they first when the 164 diecasts first broke the $10 mark. That was greatly disappointing. And then, you know, current events today have left us with a with a situation where they're going to be a little bit more expensive, which is disheartening to see, especially given that I think there was already a consensus that there was they were a bit overpriced to begin with. There was probably low purchase numbers anyway, but at the same time, it's still very unfortunate for diecast collectors. Especially, I know that there's a lot of people vocal on X about it. It is an unfortunate situation. Hopefully we can, we'll just have to monitor the situation and see where it goes from here, because I think, I'm not going to say it's going to destroy the diecast collecting, fandom, but it's definitely going to put a damper on it, especially given that people are, trying to pay for more essential things, and diecast I wouldn't qualify as essential at the moment. So we'll just have to play it by ear and see what Lionel's next steps are, and see how the consumers will respond based on that.
What we're also going to be keeping our eye on is another lawsuit. Yes, folks, not just one lawsuit in the world of NASCAR. We have two. Legacy Motor Club, they are suing Rick Ware Racing. Now, last week, it was revealed that they filed a lawsuit against Rick Ware as the two Cup Series teams, so they were clashing over a charter purchase. Well, now today, on 4/9/2025, they have obtained a temporary restraining order against Rick Ware Racing. The case will continue to move forward, but for now, they are prohibited from doing anything with their charter for 2026. This was not on my bingo card, and once again, I'm so tired of court cases and NASCAR combining into one. Anthony, why are there so many court cases in 2025 involving NASCAR?
Nolan, if I had a nickel for every time that there was a lawsuit in NASCAR, I'd have two.
Oh, yeah, not wrong. Well said, brother. Said.
You all know the rest. Yeah, this was certainly an out of left field lawsuit, to say the least, especially because no one had any idea that there was a potential for a charter to be sold, especially after we had a bunch of them sold from Stewart Haas last year. So this is an interesting situation, especially given that Rick Ware currently leases one of their charters. That's why they only run one full-time car this year. They leased the other one to RFK Racing to allow Ryan Preece to run with the team. So it's an interesting situation to keep track of. I did write about this last week. It's interesting to keep track of, because if the lawsuit goes Legacy's way, there's potential that might affect the 60 team, because they either have to outright buy the charter, or they're going to have to find a way to maybe run Preece as an open car. But at the same time, I don't know why Legacy is pursuing this so heavily, because we have heard, before that if the 2311 and FRM lawsuit against NASCAR goes their way, there's whispers that maybe the charter system just goes away. And so, to spend $45 million on a charter that might not even be there next year is a questionable move to begin with. And I get proceeding, kind of business as usual until you hear otherwise. But at the same time, that's a lot of money for especially for a team that is kind of already struggling with two cars. So adding a third is going to be a challenge, especially with finding the right driver. So to spend that kind of money on a charter that may not be in existence come 2026 is a questionable decision. I don't know what the brains of Legacy, what their thought process is at this moment, but it's certainly one to keep track of. The 2311 FRM lawsuit is one that everybody everyone keeps an eye on every move that's made in that lawsuit. And I don't think that this lawsuit is on the same scale, but it's also something worth paying attention to because of the fallout. If the lawsuit works out and the charter system sticks around, then you have to consider what RFK is going to do with Ryan Preece's with the charter they have for Ryan Preece, because you can't lease the same one twice in a row. They have the number 15 charter for Rick Ware right now. If they were going to lease it again, they have to lease either the 51 or they have to buy out the 15 charter altogether. And then Rick Ware's left with no cars for, unless they want to run an open car. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Maybe not to the gravity of the 2311 and FRM lawsuit, but it's definitely one that we need to keep our eyes peeled for with updates.
I mean, listen, I'm not smart enough for all this stuff. For Tony, Anthony, whatever I call you, I call you a plethora of different things. I'm not smart enough for all these, going to all these court cases and looking at preliminary and then tour documents and blah 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 blah. I mean, I just focus on the racetrack. But it sucks that we are having to talk about a different court case not involving 2311 in NASCAR. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Stay tuned for Frontstretch for all of the latest news. Let's dive on into our soundbite of the week, where Ryan Blaney once again recaps his eventful day and, well, once again does not end the day with a checkered flag and a trophy.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little I'm going to bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track races.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
Brian, you had an up and down day there. More so, the 24 was dominating, but the fact you had a shot to end there at the end, to win there at the end, but didn't. Is it kind of a bittersweet day for you to end that way when there was like maybe no hope, and then there was?
I wouldn't say there was no hope. I don't know what race you're watching, but we came from mid-pack to the top five, mid-pack to the top five, get set back to the top five all night. If I could ever restart up there, we would have been really good. Just things never really went our way. But really at the end, we had a great pit call of running long, splitting the stage. A lot of guys short pitted, and our car was so good in the long run, it just made up for it. So, it's things that don't work out the way it goes. Just not much we can do about that. Just keep going. But I'm proud of the effort, proud of the race car. The race car was incredibly fast, and try to go at it next time.
Ryan Blaney talking with reporters after the race. Anthony, once again, Ryan Blaney, oh so close. He's had a plethora of tough results, blown engines at Homestead, I want to say Phoenix too, and it's just not gone the way that he has wanted. And then once again, a late race restart derailed his chance for a victory for the first time this season. What's it going to take for him to get back into victory lane?
Well, the mechanical gremlins need to go away. I know that wasn't the issue at Darlington, but that has been. He's had two engine issues this year. That's already a bad sign, especially this early in the season. But I mean, I feel like this 12 team has had trouble closing out races anyway. I think this has been an issue, not just, not limited to this year. And I feel like it's almost a classic Ryan Blaney thing to start out the season with the what ifs and oh so closes and what could have beens. And then at some point around like midway through the summer, maybe he gets it together and all of a sudden we're talking about him as a championship contender. So I think there should be some concern in the 12 camp. I think they need to address the mechanical woes. And then of course they need to figure out how to close out races. Those final pit stops are always so crucial. Just ask Denny Hamlin's crew. Those pit stops are so crucial. So being able to close out those final pit stops when it's crunch time and having, giving their driver the best possible position to try to go out and win a race is also something that needs to be looked at and worked on if they want to, kind of crawl back into any sort of championship contention.
Let's dive on into our final thought segment where we wrap up the program.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Segment is in the air. Mr. Anthony Damcott, whatever you want to rant, rave, or anything in between, my friend. The floor is yours, brother.
Well, this is, as you so kindly mentioned, I am the Truck Series reporter for the site, and so I'd be remiss if I didn't send my condolences to the Hattori family. For those who don't know, Truck Series owner Shiggy Hattori passed away Sunday night in a car accident. Tragic loss for the racing community because he was an open wheel driver. He was a NASCAR driver, then became a team owner, and he hit the summit in 2018 when he won the championship with Brett Moffitt. Crazy career because he did it all. And you could tell on X that he was well loved by everyone who worked for him or even got to even speak to him. So, he will be missed dearly. Condolences to everyone and in the Hattori family and the Hattori Racing Enterprises shop. I don't know what their plans were for this year, but obviously this is a devastating loss to them as well. So, just tragic all around. I actually, before jumping on tonight, I wrote a piece about Shiggy for Trucking Thursdays. So go check that out whenever you can. I hope I did him justice. So just really unfortunate. Rest in peace, Shiggy.
Our Dalton Hopkins released a great article about NASCAR throwbacks and whether we should start not doing them at Darlington or if we should continue them. And Chase Elliott was outspoken, and I don't get it. I don't get why Chase Elliott doesn't like fun. Sure, 19 teams didn't do throwbacks, but why are you bashing on throwbacks even though that your throwback was garbage? I mean, every time that you decide to bash something, it makes the fan base like you less and less. And I mean, we can talk and rant about Chase Elliott and all his demeanors and attitudes a little bit later, but I mean, Brad Keselowski said it best. He wasn't a big fan of it, and he wanted it to go away until he went to the haulers, and then he saw all the throwback stuff, and he's like, this is really cool. And Kyle Busch said that, and this is a guy that didn't even have a throwback. He's like, we were honoring all the people that came before us, and listen, if people don't want to do it, that's fine, but I don't think that people should bash it for no reason like Chase Elliott did at a press conference. Sure, if the sponsor doesn't want it, that's okay, but why are you bashing something that you were literally a part of? It's mind-boggling. That's a story for a different day, but disappointed in Chase Elliott. What I'm not disappointed in, that's Anthony Damcott. Tony, you mentioned a little bit about what you were riding for the Truck Series. Preview that, and then are you going to be riding Fire on Fridays, or is that last week, and are Michael Massey going to be riding it this week?
So as far as I know, I'll be writing it this week because
Okay.
I filled in for our boy Massey last week.
Gotcha,
He was out of town. So so like I said, wrote Trucking Thursdays this week. It's I kind of talked about Shiggy Hattori and his team ownership as a whole in that 2018 season, that dream season for them. So like I said, hopefully I did him justice with that piece. Would love for people to go check it out. But yeah, as far as I know, I'm writing Fire on Fridays, but don't hold me on that because I'm not 100% sure. I got to double check with Massey before I just assume I'm writing something that I'm not.
Fair enough. Once again, at Anthony Damcott on the Twitter. Big thanks to Kyle Petty for coming on to the program to preview the Kyle Petty charity ride. Once again, KylePettyCharityRide.com, and then at Kyle Petty, at the Bryan Nolen, at TreyLau_VT. Coming up next on the Frontstretch Podcast Networks, we got Through the Gears with Mr. Wyatt Watson. You got Stock Car Scoop every single Sunday with Caleb Barnes, and then the Happy Hour Podcast special Monday edition with Mr. Kenny Wallace. Kenny Wallace is going to be joining the program. So big stuff there. Also, Caleb Barnes, Hannah Marlar, they got all the boots on the ground from Bristol this upcoming weekend. And then, Anthony, I got a question for you. You've covered one IndyCar race, correct?
Correct.
What can I expect from covering my first ever IndyCar race this upcoming weekend?
Ooh, well, first of all, it's first and foremost, it's a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to have a blast. Secondly, do not call it the garage. It's called the paddock.
Oh, the paddock.
That is a very big thing.
Okay.
Don't let your NASCAR colors show by calling it garage. Yeah, no, it's a whole different experience. But I mean, it's even at that, it's still a lot of the same. It's a lot of fun. I think you're going to have a blast out there.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be in Long Beach with Mr. Danny Peters and Wyatt Watson, and then we'll even get to see the boss man, Tom Bowles, out there as well. So make sure you stay tuned to the Frontstretch Open Wheel, as well as my Twitter at @Bryan Nolen for all the latest. For Mr. Anthony Damcott, Trail, I am Bryan Nolen. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk with you next week here on Bringing the Heat.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel partner of Frontstretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Frontstretch fans can use promo code Frontstretch to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Sign up for our Stay Rewarded program to get even more savings. With My Place Hotels, don't just stay, stay rewarded.
I'm Caleb Barnes with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.